go quite as you'd hope. And we've got to figure out what we want to do. So we'll, once again, we're going to look at this from responder's point of view. And what's going to happen here is we'll call them east and west again. We'll have west open 1 heart. And you hold the hand that is up on the board. So you are going to have multiple decisions to make. The first of those being, should you force the game? And I come from the school of, you remember if we're saying that, if our style is we open every 12-point hand, which I do, we may not necessarily want to force the game on every 12-point hand as responder. Because sometimes what ends up happening is we find ourselves in 3-0 with 12 opposite 12 and the tricks just aren't there. Diane looks like, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
So, and we don't feel bad about that at IMPS at all. We're playing team games because we got to be in those games, even the crappy ones. So what do you think about this particular game?
So that's assuming the 1 heart is in first or second seat?
Yes. Yeah, your partner is either dealer or in second seat, so you have not had a chance to bid. Your hand at this stage has not been in any way limited.
Because 1 spade.
Yeah, 1 spade, or do you do 2 over 1?
Okay, so this depends whether or not we're forcing the game, right? 1 spade would just be a 1-round force, and we would not be forced to game. 2 clubs would force us to game. So,
Okay, but for us, 2 clubs would say, I don't have 4
That's
spades.
my question.
Ah.
That's my question.
but that is actually not the case. 2 clubs does not deny 4 spades.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, I feel like somebody asked me about this. Was it you?
I think
Or
so,
somebody-
yeah. I've asked you a dozen questions in the
Okay,
last day.
so remember that whenever we force the game, and by the way, I am going to force the game with this hand,
Because of the
which
shape.
Woolsey does as well.
Because of the shape?
So as 12 counts go, for me, what is the deciding factor? Even though, if I had a 3rd heart, if my hearts were king 3rd, I'm 100% forcing the game because I know we can play in hearts. Now, we may not have an 8-card heart fit because I only have a doubleton, but that's actually what's pushing me over the edge. King doubleton's pretty good holding in partner's heart suit. So even if we don't play in hearts, I feel like this is a good enough filler for partner's long suit that I'm willing to force the game on this particular 12 count. If you are forcing the game, you should bid 2 clubs. Not just because it's forcing the game, but because it shows your shape. Whenever you are strong enough to force the game, you should always start with your longest suit. Yeah, because Joanne was asking me questions last week about what is usually referred to as Walsh style. Now, it's not exactly the case on this hand because partner opened a heart. But, often when partner opens a club, we bypass a diamond to bid a 4-card major. That is Walsh style. Even when we have longer diamonds, right? Even if we have 5 diamonds, we generally bypass to bid a heart or a spade. We do that with weaker hands, with hands that might be only a 1-bid hand, saying, okay, I'm bidding once and then I'm done unless partner makes a forcing bid and drags me kicking and screaming with my 7 points, right? Kind of thing. All right. Whenever you are strong enough to force the game, you never want to lie about your shape. And so 2 of a minor with a good 5-card club suit here, ace, king, jack, it does not deny 3 hearts and it does not deny 4 spades. Now, if you're not game forcing, you're probably bidding a spade because you may not be strong enough to bid 2 clubs. So if you're not game forcing, you don't always have the luxury of showing your pattern the way you want. you can always bid spades later. And then partner will know that your clubs are longer because you started with clubs.
And also
It's-
that your hand is stronger? I'm sorry to interrupt.
What's that?
And also that your hand is
Yeah,
stronger?
because two clubs, it sets up your game force. But if we took your fifth club and made it a fifth spade instead, I don't want you bidding two clubs.
Oh.
If you had 5 spades and 4 clubs, don't bid 2 clubs just so that you can create a game force, because now you'd be lying about your pattern, right? You wouldn't be bidding your longest suit first. We still want you bidding your longest suit first,
So
as
the-
often as possible.
The two club bid doesn't really deny anything, it just tells you we're in a game for it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Doesn't deny anything, okay.
Yeah. It should deny 4 hearts, as we talked about before.
Yeah.
Since you didn't
Okay.
since you didn't Jacoby or Splinter or make some kind of
Yeah.
4-card heart raise. But that's about it. Yeah, beyond, other than not having 4-card heart support, 2 clubs doesn't deny much at all.
And it doesn't have to be a source of tricks like that particular club suit?
No, sometimes you have to force the game on Jack 4th.
Okay. Thank you.
Not very appealing, but sometimes that's what you have to do.
Okay, so you said if you had 5 spades,
If we take your fifth, and then this gets back to the questions you were asking during the break about, well, what do we, how do we deal with these hands where we don't have a 2/1? If we take one of these clubs and make it a fifth spade, so that you have the exact same high card points, and the only thing that's different about your shape is that you have 5 spades and 4 clubs, we want you to start with a spade. Even though partner will only know this to be 4 spades for now, hopefully you'll be able to convey that you have a 5th spade later if partner doesn't raise you. So even if that were the case, even if this is what's going on, even though the spade suit has been eaten by moths and the 4 only clubs look pretty stout, we don't want you bidding 2 clubs and then trying to bid spades later, because partner is always going to take you for longer clubs. When you force the game, you're typically starting with your longest suit first. And so what does this mean? This means that with this hand you respond to spade, and you're not going to get to use 2/1, and you're probably going to have to employ new minor forcing or 4th suit forcing with your next bid to propel your side to game. So yeah, we don't want to force 2/1s where they don't exist. All right. So we start with 2 clubs here, and now if you remember, normally it's part of 2/1 fundamentals that reverses no longer apply, since we're already in a forcing situation. So if opener has 4 spades and 5 hearts, the next bid by opener would be 2 spades. And guess what? You found your fit, right? So you can always raise spades later or bid your spades later. Now, this is going to be a more difficult auction. Oops. Thing. Okay, opener bids 3 clubs next. Good news, bad news. You have a legitimate club fit, so that you know about, right? But this auction hasn't really gotten any easier.
You need 29 points to be in the votes.
I don't know if I would typically require that much, but I would be concerned about trying to take 11 tricks in a minor, especially if opener has a pretty minimal opening. That would be less than ideal. So, in spite of the club fit, which should be a 9-card fit, because normally, remember, this could have been done on a 4-card suit, and so this is typically only done with 4 of them. Opener normally doesn't raise responders minor on a 2/1 with only 3-card support. So we probably have a 9-card club fit. That said, considering I stretched a little bit perhaps with my game force, I'm not all that excited about committing to a contract that needs us to take 11 tricks, right? Well, what do you do next?
Show your
you have to
spade.
tell her about the spades.
Okay. Now, 3 spades works in a couple of ways here, right? It happens to be natural. You do, in fact, have 4 spades. and your clubs are longer. So you are giving an accurate picture of your pattern. And you're also saying some other things about your hand along the way. So, opener, if you are hear the Bringlish. What is partner telling you with 3 spades, other than what you have seen? Remember, we're so trained to think about what we see. Oh, we see partner has clubs. We see partner has spades. Now, let's see what hasn't been explicitly shown. What doesn't responder have?
3 hearts.
Responder doesn't have 3 hearts,
3
right?
hearts,
They
okay.
they wouldn't bother showing the spades if they had 3 hearts. Even finding the fit in clubs, if we had an 8-card heart fit, we would want to let opener know about it now. Okay, so your three spade bid denies 3 hearts. Have you denied something else? Diamond stopper.
Because didn't you go up the line?
Yeah, if you had spades, if you had spades and diamonds both stopped, and a minimum game force like this, like 12 or 13 points, wouldn't you just make life easier for everyone and bid 3-no right now? If 3-no were, if it were apparent to you that 3-no were playable, wouldn't you just do it right now? You should. So 3 spades tells the opener, and three spades, I call 3 spades natural-ish. Because you might have to do something like that even if you didn't have a 4th spade.
Yeah, that's my concern.
Yeah, I mean, with the small doubles and diamond, you have a reason to be worried about no trump, right? So, again, and there's probably not much danger of partner raising you to 4 spades, because in theory, partner already denied 4 spades, right? Since they raised your clubs instead of coming back with 2 spades. So opener does not have 4 spades, right? So that's an inference that you can draw as responder. So you have now pinpointed the problem, right? This is your last chance. There are no bids, last time I checked, between 3 spades and 3-no. So this is your last chance to get to 3-no. All right, well, your partner does that. Good news, bad news, right? The bad news is we don't have diamond stop because we have pinpointed this problem. We've had a very intelligent dialogue in Bringlish here, and we have determined that we should not play 3-no trump. So the bad news is we can't play 3-no. The good news is we just stayed out of what probably would have been a terrible 3-no, right? Anybody else with these cards who was a little bit reckless and trotted out 3-no in hopes that partner would have a diamond stopper may be in for a nasty surprise. Well, maybe in for nasty. I don't know that it would be a surprise. I mean, what lead do you think you're going to get against no trump on this auction, right? Probably the unbid suit.
So could opener have 12 points right here? This opener could have 12.
Yeah, opener could still have to. So we realize that at no point has opener really shown extra values, right?
Right.
So this is going to happen sometimes. Look, sometimes we make a normal opening and we make a pretty normal game force, and the hands just don't fit the way we would like, and we don't have a great place to play. But you know what? You're going to have company, because most people in the room are probably going to get the game on an opening hand opposite an opening hand, even if they're both minimum opening hands. So, responder, what would you do next? And by the way, I think at some point, I feel like we talked about some exceptions in the past to 2/1. And one question that maybe you would ask is, would I ever be allowed to pass 4 clubs? I would not do it unless your partnership has specifically discussed that we play 2 of. This is on your convention card at the top. It's there's a box for 2/1 except when suit rebid.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, so that would apply to an auction like this. It doesn't come up very often, and I avoid it. I generally don't play that because I don't think you want to try and worry about, okay, well, on what auction am I allowed to pass 4 of a minor, right? Because remember, opener hasn't, opener theoretically could have a super club fit for you and have a diamond, singleton, or void and be interested in slam, right? And so they probably need to be able to take the auction slowly and not go jumping around here while you gather information. So I feel like we should not, agreement or not, I feel like we should not pass 4 clubs. As tempting as it is, and it may be right on this hand. It may be the right thing to do. Maybe 10 tricks in clubs is the limit of the hand.
I mean, you already have 2 losers, probably in diamonds.
We do. On the other hand, we can construct some pretty minimal openers that partner could have where we would still have 11 tricks. Even if we have 2 quick diamonds to lose. And we might not, and what if opener has,
Singleton.
yeah, what if your partner is a singleton diamond? We might only have 1 diamond to lose. That's a possibility here. So.
And short spades? Could have short spades?
Yeah, could have shortness somewhere, so I don't know, what do you want to do when partner bids 4 clubs?
I want to pass.
I want to pass.
I want to pass.
All right, so there's what you want to do and what will you do?
Well, because wouldn't they go to 5 clubs? Well, unless they wanted slam, they could go to 5 clubs and say, let's
Well,
get-
but yeah, remember, we're both dealing with, hands where, partner could be unlimited, right? I mean, responder could still have a great hand, and 3 spades is going to be the bid over here. Just because it helps you gather information about the hand. You would like to know whether partner has something in diamonds or not. In this case, it's because you'd like to see if you could play 3-no. So it's for the purpose of finding the best game. But for all opener knows, you're probing for information in support of a slam try in clubs, having found the fit. So. Now Woolsey has a suggestion for responder that I like on this hand that I think is a pretty good option. Does anybody know what it is? Okay, so what do we think about 4 hearts at this point?
5-2 fit.
I mean, if you are forced to bid, let's assume that we are not
That's not bad.
going to pass 4 clubs. Let's assume that we are sticking with our agreements, that we are fully forced to game whether we like it or not. We made the bed when we bid 2 clubs. We will now lie in that bed, and take our chances, better or worse.
It's good.
Isn't 4 hearts pretty safe with honor doubleton, king doubleton?
Yeah.
Partner knows you don't have 3, right? This is not a dangerous action to take. Why would you offer 4 hearts? Yeah, we're on the same page here. We've both determined, with 3 spades by you and an unwillingness to bid 3-no, and 4 clubs and an unwillingness to bid 3-no. We now know we don't have diamond stop. So we're on the same page that 3-no is not going to work. And so, what else could 4 hearts be other than, okay, rather than committing us to 11 tricks, what do we think about trying to take 10 tricks in hearts? Now, this also gets to a question, and we're going to come back to this in a couple of weeks too. The one concern that opener might have here is, well, is that a cubit? Is partner making a slam try in clubs? Is that what 4 hearts is? And I think Woolsey would tell you, and I would tell you as well, no, it's actually not in this case. Now, what we're going to get into down the road here in a couple weeks is the trickier part of how do we know when 4 hearts is an offer to play and when 4 hearts is a cubid in pursuit of maybe a slam in clubs. And the short answer is we have to find the best game. Slam is down the road. If slam is in the picture, we'll deal with that later, or we have another way to deal with it. we're still trying to figure out what the best game is. So until we have figured out what the best game is, we're not worried about slam. So in this situation, 4 hearts can be passed by opener, and in this case will be passed.